we began to see pictures of this knife, and we even saw its out of stock listing appear on Lynn Thompson's Special Projects website. Some of us waited all year last year for that thing to show up in stock. It never did. And I think it was about May of this year when we finally saw them hit. With an MSRP of $499, I believe, sort of street retail for about $350. The Formax represents new ground broken in Cold Steel's lineup. This is an ultra high-end production knife made in the United States. It's been a long time since Cold Steel has made a modern folder, or has had made a modern folder in the U.S. Last year there was the slip joint. What was that thing called? The Ranch Boss Stockman, I believe. That was sort of a Canal Street Queen produced knife. But that's a traditional folder. This is it's a true high-end, heavy-duty, modern folder. Featuring the Andrew Demko Triad lock. Nicely blasted desert tan G10 handle with stainless steel liners. Massive stop pins. A huge back spring. 3/16, actually about 190 thousandths thick slab of CPM 20 CV premium powdered stainless knife steel. A traditional phosphor bronze washer cold steel pivot. Massive diameter pivot. Dual thumb studs terraced, and they are equal size on both sides, which isn't normal in a cold steel knife. Just check out this is going to hit my, not quite. Just a free dropping blade with absolutely no blade play. Easy to adjust. If you get your hand in the right place, it's such a big knife, but it can be deployed with the thumb, with no wrist. Rather robust back spring on this knife. It needs to be. How much does it weigh? Well, let's just call it 10 ounces. I weighed it 3 times. I got 9.9 ounces each time. The blade is 4 1/8 inches long. It's hard to put that in perspective, I think, because it's so in proportion, that spear point blade is. It doesn't maybe look as big as it actually is. So we'll set it next to a Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter, and then now you can really see how truly massive the Formax is. You see some family resemblance there, don't you? You sure do. That's why I bought an Ultimate Hunter while I was waiting for the Formax to come out. It's kind of like the baby brother, baby sister. Especially with my choil mod. So, it's over 4 inches long in blade length. It's made out of 190 thousandths stock. It has the most heavy-duty, strongest lock on the planet. Not only does it have thick G10 handle scales, but those are backed up with stainless steel. So we know, don't we? We don't really have to do any testing. It's possibly the strongest modern production folder in existence. We know that. But how about the quality? What about the other things that make a knife great? Well, here's kind of what I've found. Overall, the quality of this knife is extremely good. Let's start at the blade and kind of work our way back. Our grinds are well executed and very symmetrical. The finish is beautiful. It's just a nice sparkling stone wash. If I had to guess, I'd say this was satin finished on the grinder and then bead blasted and then stone washed. It's just so uniform and so good. Look how that stone washing really brought out the demarcation lines between the ground surfaces. Just beautifully done. The only sort of finish hit I'll give the knife is, this is going to be really hard to pick up, I think. Look at the spine of the blade. There were some rather coarse machining marks that were sort of left there prior to stone wash, and you can still see those. Don't really notice those on the backspacer, however, or on the lock bar, excuse me. One other area they kind of missed, and this is frankly unforgivable. Notice the sort of 60-40 choil, kind of a standard Demco feature that gives us a finger forward capability on a big knife, which is nice, and also is designed to give us plenty of room to get in and sharpen that edge without being intruded upon by the plunge grind. You can see this is really on the hairy edge, and that's after I fixed it. I'm going to show you a picture real quick of how that intersection looked before I started on the knife, so take a look at that and then we'll come back and finish our discussion. So yeah, you can see it looks considerably better now. And it would have really looked bad when I put my 17 degrees per side edge on this knife. It would have had a big flare at the back and probably have had a no cleanup spot out here somewhere. And I just needed to make it right. And I think my work is fairly undetectable here. If you look close, you'll see that this surface isn't stone washed anymore. It's now hand done satin. So. And the reason I say there's no excuse for that, the knife's like 10 inches long. You know, it's got this 4 1/8 inch blade. Is that handle like 6 1/16? I thought I measured that, but yeah. Yeah, it's like 6 1/16. So the knife's 10 3/16 in overall length. I think there's room not to cramp the base of the edge with the plunge grind, especially if you're putting a forward choil on the knife anyway. So that's the one thing I'm really going to hit the knife on. There's no reason for me to have to go in there and enlarge that choil. That's just bad execution of a good design. Bad programming on a CNC piece of equipment, I would imagine. The finish on the G10 is gorgeous. It's 3D contoured and then blasted to reveal its layers and its texture. It's just awesome. The jimping's kind of interesting. We have fine-tooth jimping, a couple runs of it here on the lock bar, and then what we're used to seeing, these large radiuses milled into the spine. Plenty adequate without being uncomfortable at all. How is the knife ergonomically? Well, in this forward choil hammer grip, it's great. In the rearward hammer grip, it's great. Rearward saber grip, it's great. Forward saber grip, it's great. In the draw cut grip, it's great. In the vertical draw cut, man, super secure, lots of handle left. And if we go reverse grip on it, we can sort of come forward all the way to the finger guard, and this angle is plenty good for some mobility, or we can really extend, get lots of reach, and wrap the thumb, and that's comfortable too. Well done. Let's see, where's the balance point? It's right in the front of the rearward finger groove. Guys, I'm sorry, I did not get a magnet out and check, but I've heard it reported that this backspacer is titanium. Oh, I don't have a good magnet handy. Let's see. Well, I got to correct myself. Not only is the backspacer titanium, the liners are too. No magnetism whatsoever back there. Blade centering is perfect. Oh. And by the way, let's just talk about something important to me here. You know, this is a 10-ounce modern folder. It better be able to do more than just cut, right? So we've got this 190 thousandths thick stock. And with even with the swedge on this beautiful spear point blade, we've got a run of full stock thickness flats clear out to here. So as long as I can, you know, bury my tip in between two things I want to part by prying up to about here, which ought to be plenty possible, I've got full prying capability and a handle and a pivot mechanism that will handle it. But you know, what does that sort of remind you of in its heavy dutiness? Well, how about a hinderer? You know, sort of recognized as a high-end, super duty modern folder for tactical applications that are more than just cutting. But what's my knock been on hinderer XMs over the years? Well, they're ground too freaking thick. They don't cut well. But remember, if we're prying, we're doing it with the thickest part of the steel. You know, unless you're handling your knife in a non-expert manner, your cutting edge should never be applying prying force. It should be this full section thickness part of the blade. So look how broad this thing is. What is that thing? 1.5 inches, top to bottom, probably. Let's see. Wow. It's almost 1.5 inches, top to bottom. So we should be able to achieve, shouldn't we, prying capability through this section of the blade and still have plenty of room, even with thick stock, to fashion a primary bevel that gets us to a thin dimension behind the edge. Well, remember guys, I sharpened this at 17 degrees per side. Look how skinny that secondary bevel is. That means it's nice and thin at the edge. And can the CPM 20 CV thinly ground make a fine knife edge? Yeah, I think so. Gentlemen and ladies, there are many 2-3 ounce EDC blades that don't cut that good. So bravo Cold Steel, bravo Mr. Demko on creating a really superb all-purpose knife. I think well worth the $350 price of admission. The only question for ownership, I think, on this knife is, can you really carry a 10-ounce knife? You know, that's over 6 inches long closed and 670 thousandths thick, over 5/8 of an inch. You know, I'm probably not going to put this thing in my pants. By the way, the knife does come with a clip, just not installed by my sharpening customer Kevin. It is a straight, very Demko style clip. It is reversible, tip up, right or left hand carry. It might be titanium too. Let's just look. It is indeed. That's a lot of good stuff for $350. You know, when these were first announced in 2015, I was all over it. I was checking the website weekly or daily in the beginning, and I just thought I had to have this because I've so been pulling for Cold Steel to get into really the true high-end folder market. You know, not with polished G10 and polished aluminum bolsters and AUS 8 steel, but with some real modern high quality componentry. But I don't think I'm going to buy one of these because, let's face it, it's going to stay in the safe all the time. I'm probably never going to carry it because it's so honking big. What if we took this same construction, might even be able to go without the liners, and make something this size? Maybe at about 5 ounces? Huh. I like the titanium backspacer. I like the 20 CV blade. But man, that's a lot of ounces. 10 of them. Before I close this video, I do want to go over one other aspect of construction that's been corrected on this knife. That's sort of the bane of cold steel quality. We're used to seeing body screws on each side threaded into aluminum backspacers, which serve a bad locating function, and aluminum threads do strip. Notice the Formax. Screw heads, 3 of them on the left side of the knife. Turn it over to the right and we have female barrel / pins that go through all 5 layers of material and then have nice long threads on those T6 headed screws. Very, very nice construction. And guys, taking this knife apart, be patient and don't get a big old screwdriver and start prying on that titanium. But the fit in this construction is so good. You're going to just be pulling and tugging and twisting and working that scale up off of there for a long time. The fit is very tight, very precise. I don't know who's making these knives for cold steel, but whoever it is ain't in China. Right here in the United States, and it doesn't cost $500 or $600. It costs $350. And it is, it's sort of all alone in its own class. So if you are a true hard use folder guy and you want to have that knife that you can bring to the cookout and snicker at everybody's wimpy little titanium frame locks that weigh 8 or 9 ounces, you want to hook them up with a toe strap and see which one's going to last. I think they'll all be running for the bathroom when you break out this bad boy. You want overbuilt, guys? This is what overbuilt looks like. And it still cuts. Oh, does it cut? I love it. I love it. If any of you really love the channel and have way too much money this Christmas, or around September 6th when my birthday is, just feel free. You can get my shipping address off my sharpening video, which appears at the beginning of all my videos. I'm just kidding. Do not do that. Ain't it a beaut? That is all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Kevin's Cold Steel Formax are sharp.